friends, it's Adelita, your District 5 Supervisor. We just finished our Board of Supervisors meeting. It's Tuesday, March 4th. We started at 9 and ended at 4:04. So we had a lot of discussion. I'll go through what the highlights were. I want to thank the Chavez Huerta Coalition, so many friends, for joining us today to accept the proclamation for March in Pima County being the Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta month. It's great to see all of my friends there. We had an item about the impacts of state, federal funds. It was something that we asked to be put on the agenda every board meeting last month, and we discussed today 76 executive orders that have a potential impact to Pima County. The biggest one is going to be a cut to Medicaid. That will be something that those funds that come through the state and then come to Pima County, those are going to be significant. Kids care, so children 0 to 17 who do not have health insurance at this point, that's a huge program, and that is going to see some cuts. People ages 22 to 64 are also going to receive some cuts, and so that's going to be a considerable impact to individuals. But how it's going to affect everybody, whether you have health insurance or not, is those cuts are going to affect hospitals, healthcare providers, all health systems, because people are not going to have the opportunity to go to address preventative care with a doctor without insurance. And so what ends up happening is you go to the emergency room for things that have, instead of going into your provider with a cold and getting a prescription, now people are going to be going to emergency rooms with potential pneumonia and other things that are going to require hospitalization. And so the impact is going to be significant whether you have health insurance or not. February 26th, DOGE requested that all federally funded programs send information on what they're working on. So what we could see is sweeps in different funds that were already allocated and awarded to Pima County, just swept. And we've seen that across the nation and other states, and so we have to be aware of that. What we might see in the short run is a sweeping of $56 million or non-reimbursement of the remaining ARPA and SSP funding. And remember, that's what the funding, that's what funded migrant services, at the Drexel facility and through Casa Alitas. But what has happened is we reallocated those funds because they were already awarded. So we reallocated those to other programs that have all been approved by the Board of Supervisors. But what has been happening, like in New York, is that you have the amounts there. You're supposed to be able to draw upon once you submit appropriate, receipts for reimbursables, and that those might not happen. We're also worried about formula grants, and what those are some of our programs like community development block grants. A lot of the funding that Pima County awards to nonprofit organizations, that could be dramatically impacted, which would be horrible for us. Women, infant, and children services, all of the WIC programs, all of those are formula funded based on our population. Those could be things that we are very, very concerned about at this point. So there is a tentative budget. This process should end in April. We had a budget discussion that was about 2 hours long, and the bulk of the discussion had to do not so much with where we are now, but the supplemental requests from, usually we call them row officers, but other elected offices that are asking for additional funds for different things. That is something that is going to have an impact on our budget, because what we're looking at is for fiscal year 26 that we're going to be facing a $12 million deficit at this point if all spending stays the same. And so what the information we heard is a 1% reduction in everyone's budget. Let's say we do an across the board cut, is $6.8 million to the county. For every penny we increase the tax rate, it's 1.1 million. And so we are still going to work very hard and the intention is to honor all of the employee contracts that we have and all of the increases in wages, class and comp study, that all of that we continue to add to all of the Pima County employees' compensation, because we don't want to roll back anything once we invested that much. And so it looks like for next year there'll be a 5% increase overall to all Pima County employees, but it will come in two sort of chunks. So it'll be a 3.6 and then the remaining to get to 5%. We had a fairly long presentation about fireworks in Pima County. It was 1.5 hours, if memory serves. We had a hearing because Supervisor or Chair Scott brought forward an item to revise the fireworks ordinance in Pima County. I was not in favor of that. I think that we have an ordinance that gives us some flexibility, and while I think that there's an opportunity to tweak some things, some of the suggestions I thought were really restrictive. And so what I think, what ended up happening is at the end of that discussion, Administrator Lesher offered to have like a meeting like with those that were in the room and reach out to other people who actually set up fireworks, create an opportunity to hear from fire chiefs to like, what are your concerns and how can we work together to come up with something that is actually a workable solution. And so I'm hoping that that's gonna show some results, because we were split on the board on how to effectively address that ordinance. And then so there was a presentation on county initiatives to address homelessness and public safety. That was about an hour and a half. And I think that what was really important for us to take away from is that there are a lot of different reasons why all of the efforts that we're doing are not resulting in tangible changes in general. When you're like, let's say, driving down the street around Pima County, let's say by I-10, those issues, I think that we've all seen examples of where there's encampments and, different parks that have been sort of taken over by people that are unhoused, but also understand that we don't have enough beds to house everybody that needs it. So how do we balance those? And I think that the statement that I made during the meeting is that Pima County has done a very good job, I think, of focusing their efforts on families, single moms, and women and people who are older and so vulnerable out in the street. And for a lot of other people that are either refusing services, it's like, well, how can we make this process a little easier? So we're gonna continue to work on that, and it is absolutely a work in progress. And so I encourage you to tune into that conversation, because I think a lot of information was shared that is very helpful. I think it's really cool. Rollies is partnering with the Pima Animal Care Center. So a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, we were talking about the wonderful partnership with La Estrella, and now Rollies is partnering with Pima Animal Care Center, and a portion of 2 different plates for taco plates a portion of those funds are gonna go towards PAC. There's a kickoff on Sunday, March 16th from 10 to 1. Come down and support local who are helping locally. I think it's great. Thanks, Rollies. And then there is a library survey out. It's library.pima.gov, just to get an idea of how you utilize our libraries and what they can do better to better meet the needs of our community. Please fill that out. And spring break is coming for many of our young people. So I hope you have a nice break over that spring break for those of us who have kids and have a little bit of extra time with our families. Thank you so much for keeping up with Pima County politics. Stay safe, my friends.